that we all know that how we store the audio signals or the speech signals with the MP3 technology. Earlier, when audio recording had was the invention, probably in the late 19th century, the first recording of the audio was done through phonographs. Probably you might have seen in certain movies where big magnetic discs or magnetic tapes were used to record and to in fact to listen to the music that was stored in the magnetic tape. So this was in the very late in the 19th century, the second half of the 19th century, probably I can say in 1870s. This was with respect to recording and listening of audio signals or the music signals. Later, approximately after probably 1 century, from around 100 years of gap, then finally compact discs were invented, where it paved the way for storing the audio signals in digital format. Okay, so but during these 100 years, say probably this is in the year of say 1980s, when CDs were invented. During this 100 years, approximately 100 years, the world has witnessed the introduction of a wide variety of records. Okay, so one of the most popular record which I was saying was a long playing record, LP record, which was big a magnetic disc, which was actually used in the homes in the Western countries. Okay, so in spite of their those long playing records with acceptance and popularity, those were formats of analog audio recordings, but they have come with limitations. Say if I can say the limitations of all those analog recording schemes, say I can say this as analog recording schemes. Okay, so the basic limitation is in terms of with the limited dynamic range. Okay, so with the limited dynamic range, and probably with a low signal to noise ratio as well. Okay, so it was corrupted heavily with the noise involved in storing the signals in direct analog form. By comparison, say if I try to record the music in analog form at very low music levels, noise will also be audible. Okay, so if you wish to prevent the noise, if you try to suppress the noise, saturation of the required signal will occur at high music levels. So it was very difficult with respect to storing the analog music signals. But digital audio recording, unlike analog recording schemes, the digital audio recording, okay, these schemes, recording and playback schemes, put together, I mean record storing and listening, that complete scheme allows to improve the fidelity of the recorded music. It improves the fidelity. Fidelity is in terms of the quality of the audio signal, the quality with respect to enhanced dynamic range and improved SNR as well. Furthermore, digital recordings are generally more durable, and they do not deteriorate with the playing time, as even with the hundreds of years, we do not see any deterioration of the quality of the digital music signal. So that was with the utmost advantages of the digital audio recording. It actually revolutionized the music industry as well. Okay, so how this is done, say in the transmitters, I try to summarize this. I'll not get into how this is stored or how this is recorded. I'll try to summarize a few important points with respect to both recording and playback. Okay, so in transmitter there are two audio signals. A transmitter, in the sense, this is actually the recorder. Okay, there is no transmission here. I'm just talking about digital recording, so I should be specific with respect to the source end here. So this is a recorder, but in other case, if you are trying to transmit over the say telecommunication channel, that becomes the transmitter part. Okay, so, but I'll be restricting my discussion with respect to only storage of this digital audio signal. There are two audio signals, say from left and right. Probably these left and right are can be seen with your earphones or the headphones themselves. There are two black rounds which can be seen in the jack of the earphone or the headphone, one corresponding to the left channel, another corresponding to the right channel. So these are the two mono signal channels. Say the audio signals from these mono left and right microphones in a probably in recording studio or a concert hall. So wherever this audio is recorded, these are sampled. So these signals which are passed through left and right are passed through sampling and digitization process, which involves basically conversion from analog to digital. So A to D converter does the job of sampling and digitization. So we need to know what should be the ideal sampling rate for this. As we understand that the original speech signal is approximately having the bandwidth of say around 20 kilohertz. Accordingly, the Nyquist sampling rate should be at least twice than the bandwidth of or the higher frequency component of the input message signal. So it should be strictly speaking at least 40 kilohertz. So to allow certain guard bands, we have talked about certain guard bands as well to avoid any aliasing. So if you include certain guard band and try to sample them, ideally, practically speaking, we have seen in one of the numerical problems as well. Practically, this Nyquist rate or the sampling rate is usually approximately is around 44.1 kilohertz. So it should be around 40 kilohertz to be strict sense, but to avoid aliasing, we have given certain guard band for this. Okay, so this frequency is compatible with video recording equipment that is commonly used for the digital recording of audio signals. Okay, the samples of these both L and R signals are quantized using either uniform or non-uniform quantization process. But usually, if you are talking about compact discs, the quantization process that is used is uniform PCM. Say if I take that particular case with uniform PCM, you do the quantization. Okay, so uniform PCM here that is used is around 16 bits per sample. Okay, so we can calculate what should be the and what will be the signal to quantization noise ratio given with a known expression for SQNR. Okay, so it will be around 90 decibels if you have given around 16 bits per sample. So that should be more than enough for the quality of the audio signal. Okay, say at the modulator, the digital control and for if it's a compact disc, you have the liberty of adding more information. If you want to have the information of the singer, information of the movie from which the song is taken, or probably the copyrighted information can also be included with respect to the guard band that is provided, which is slightly above than the actual Nyquist rate itself. Okay, so those information can also be added, which was not possible in case of analog recording schemes. Pardon. Okay, so this is with respect to the recorder or the transmitter part. But at the receiver or the decoder, okay, so at the other end or at the decoder part. Okay, in case of CD, you have got a CD player. In case of say iPod systems, probably you can listen with the storage of in the system itself. So in either cases, you need to digitally read the recorded signals. After the L and R signals, left and right signals are demodulated. So they need to be demodulated first, and then they are transferred through something known as channel decoder. Channel coding and decoding will be seen in your communication system 2 course, which actually is helpful for error correcting and error detection schemes. But anyway, there are multiple blocks which receiver will have, but basic idea behind the receiver or the decoder is to convert this digital audio signal back to an analog audio signal by means of D to A converter. Okay, so exactly the reverse job of the recorder needs to be performed at the receiver end. The conversion of L and R digital signals into D2A converter, is actually must be having a precision of 16 bits, because we have used uniform PCM system at the recorder with 16 representing each sample with 16 bits, and hence the precision of this D2A converter should also be 16 bits. Okay, because we are converting each 16 bits into one of the analog sample. Okay, so this is precision should be, theoretically speaking, it is 16 bits. So in principle, say if you're talking about conceptually, the digital to analog conversion of the 16-bit signals at say sampling rate of 44.1 kilohertz sampling rate is relatively simpler. We can mathematically or conceptually it feels that it is very simple, but in reality, in practical implementation of a 16-bit D2A converter is very, very expensive. Okay, so this is expensive with respect to practical implementation. Even in your mobile phones which are receiving 4G signals with high quality, even they do not have 16 bits D2A converter. They have got 13 bits precision of D2A converter. Probably your 5G may go to 14 bits. I'm not very sure what Qualcomm's or Huawei equipment manufacturers are coming up with the actual precisions of D2A converters, but currently we have got up to 12 or 12 bits or 13 bits D2A converter, which are practically realizable with an economical limitation for the manufacturing process. But as I said, now we are only have with inexpensive D2A converters with 12 bits or less precisions are available. Say if I want to say, but say we have got inexpensive, relatively economical, I can say D2A converters with less than or equal to 12 bits precisions, okay, are available. So what should be done? So at the transmitter end, transmitter or recorder demands the precision of 16 bits, but it seems to be very complex in not in with respect to the concept, but with respect to the practical availability of these D2A converters. So it demands this kind of setup demands a low cost D2A converter while maintaining the 16-bit precision of the digital audio signal. Remember, we should not compromise with respect to the quality of the audio signal, but we should have an inexpensive D2A converter which should deliver the same performance. Okay, so this paves the a solution of a little a different kind of a system, which is the actual point of discussion today, which will take another 10 minutes to go ahead. Okay, so with that, okay, this situation demands demands a low cost D2A converter, okay, while maintaining, this is the core of the problem here. So while maintaining the 16-bit precision, okay, precision of digital audio signal. Okay, so what should be done? So solution for this, how to meet this demand is that the practical solution to this problem is to expand the bandwidth of the digital audio signal. Say we need to expand the bandwidth of digital audio signal by oversampling. Okay, by taking more samples than required. Okay, or how it's done, we'll see by oversampling through something known as an interpolation. Okay, and a digital filtering technique. I'll try to address that. Okay, so the basic approach in doing this oversampling is that this 16-bit, either remember I'm talking at the receiver part or the decoder part. So either left or right, channel signal is is taken out. Say both left and right are done simultaneously. Okay, remember that. However, I'll be drawing a block diagram for only for the left channel, which can be duplicated for the right channel as well. Okay, so first oversampling is done with two steps. Okay, first block is known as upsampling. Okay, upsampling by a factor u. I'm sorry, upsampling by a factor u. Then it is fed to a filter. Okay, so this is basically your digital FIR filter. Okay, which has got linear phase response. Okay, and this both block together, put together, which does the upsampling process. And the basic idea behind digital filter is to produce high rate and high precision output. Okay, so this combination of these two blocks is known as interpolator. Okay, so this is in fact digital interpolator. This produces, the combination of these two blocks produces high rate due to upsampling, because we are going to produce more samples at less time, which produces high rate output, and it also produces high precision output. Okay, because of digital FIR filter. This has to be processed further to convert back into analog form. For this high rate, high precision output, as we know that we are handicapped with with the D2A converter of high precision, and this for the blocks which need to be implemented in the receiver or in the decoder needs to be have a look, right? So with that idea behind, we introduce some special type of modulation that is known as some special type of modulation which is implemented further in the, down the receiver chain, that is known as sigma delta modulator. Okay, this is the motivation behind sigma delta modulator. Okay, so we know that delta modulation, I think we have done in somewhere, if you can recall, the delta modulation transmitter involved some incoming message samples which are passed through 1-bit quantizer, either it is plus delta or minus delta. Correct. So this was the simplest possible system for a PCM, where incoming message signal is just either it is plus delta or minus delta, and it is fed back through a block known as an accumulator. Correct. So this was the block diagram that we had considered for the transmitter. So I just try to redraw this part. I'll take out this encoder part, because encoder part is just to represent the samples in digital format or binary format. So this is the core of DM transmitter. Similarly, the receiver which does the opposite of operation. If I take out encoder there, I'll have to take the decoder out here. So if I try to connect both transmitter and receiver, the transmitter will have a feedback loop involving 1-bit quantizer. In the feedback loop there will be an accumulator. In the receiver, straight away I have an accumulator, and output of the accumulator is passed through low pass filter. All right, so if I try to redraw that, if I try to re-look into it, sigma delta, the delta modulator, in fact, the delta modulator, okay, it has input signal samples. I can say this is input signal samples which are incoming. Okay, then this is fed through a difference block, okay, which in the forward path we have 1-bit quantizer. Okay, then in the feedback path we have got accumulator. So accumulators, sometimes in some cases it is also known as integrator, but we'll stick to what we have used. Okay, this is accumulator, which is fed back. Okay, so this is the part of the transmitter or the modulator part. At the receiver part, okay, this is actually the part of the encoder. Okay, so at the decoder, again, okay, see, this is fed through an accumulator. Okay, then you got low pass filter. Okay, and you can have analog output. So this is the part of the decoder in simplest way to represent delta modulator. Okay, so you see this has something like this in general, or okay, this has a block, because I have got accumulator here and accumulator here at the decoder as well. I can club these two accumulators and I can only have one accumulator or integrator with inclusion of both encoder and decoder. How it is done? So that is done. The idea behind that, and this is an important part, say if I replace this 1-bit quantizer with a block called as G, okay, and try to feed back this with, say, accumulator as H. This is the standard representation of any control system, where if this is an input X, okay, this is a differentiator, this is which takes the difference of these two signals, and we have got a block of, again, an accumulator. We have got a block of, again, an accumulator, and we have represented this block with, say, H, and if I say fictitiously I say this as output Y and intermediate output of this block as Y dash. If I try to find out what is the transfer function of this system, say Y over X, if I try to find that, we see that Y dash, okay, Y dash here is nothing but the G, which is the multiplication factor, whatever is fed to G is multiplied with the gain of this block G, and what is fed to this is fed with the difference of two signals. One signal is X and another signal which is minus, which is coming from the output here, which is Y dash. Say that is Y dash times H, which gets multiplied with the block H in the feedback loop. If I try to rearrange this, I have Y dash as X times G, and try to rearrange on the left hand side and take pull this down, I've got 1 plus gh in the denominator. Okay, so I can alternatively obtain, finally y is nothing but the final y here is multiplication of y dash with h. So ultimately what I have is x g times h. I'm substituting y dash from the previous expression divided by 1 plus gh. The transfer function, which is y over x, is actually gh over 1 plus gh. But I can also have the same transfer function with an alternate implementation. Have a closer look about this. If I have an input x with again same the difference of these two signals, now I will move this feedback loop h in the forward path itself with g as it is. Okay, and I will take the feedback from the output with unity gain in the feedback loop. And if I call this as y, and if I try to find out what is the transfer function of this system, I would get, okay, I would get y as, it's similar principle, it's a multiplication of gh. Now there are two blocks in the forward path multiplied with the difference of the signals which are fed to them, which is nothing but x minus y, because there is nothing in the feedback loop here. Okay, so this will give me a transfer function y over x as, we carefully observe, sorry, x has taken there, this is gh over 1 plus gh, which is similar to the transfer function that is obtained with 2 h blocks. With this idea behind, I need not have two accumulators. As you have observed that I have replaced accumulator with a block h here. Now I will take out these two accumulators and I will have only one accumulator block in the forward path. That will give me a new look into this delta modulator. Okay, if I do that, this will give me, okay, this is input signal. Okay, now in the forward path, of course this positive, the difference of two signals in the forward path. Now with respect to h, replacing h with accumulator block with the actual block. Okay, this is an accumulator block, and g that we know that we have replaced that with simply 1 bit quantizer. Okay, then this will be your forward path, and the feedback path will have unity gain. Okay, this is with respect to your transmitter or the encoder part. In the decoder part, all you need to do is to have, since each sample is represented by 1 bit here, either it is plus delta or minus delta, and in the decoder part you can have simply 1 bit D to A and then pass through your regular low pass filter to get back your analog output. This system is known as, actually this 1 bit quantizer, as we know, this is your delta modulator. Okay, this is the actually delta modulator, which is the basic principle of quantizing your signal with 1 bit quantization process. This accumulator is actually accumulating. In other words, I can represent with this with sigma, and hence this modulator is known as sigma delta modulator. Okay, so this sigma delta modulator, which is the simplest form, which has only got 1-bit quantization process involved in encoding and decoding. This high rate, high precision output of the interpolator doesn't, which is demanding 16-bit of D2A converter, that is reduced to simple first order sigma delta modulator, and hence I can replace or I can have a block of simpler D2A converter, which is your sigma delta modulator. Okay, right. So with that idea behind, I can complete this receiver part of your digital recording scheme, where digital recording and retrieving back with analog signal. So this output we will still have high rate because we have upsampled it. This will have high rate, but this will have not high precision, but this will have 1 bit per sample. Okay, maintaining the same quality of the digital audio signal. Okay, this can be now passed through simple 1-bit D2A. Okay, then rest of the blocks which involves is similar to your sigma delta modulator, which is your LPF, and you have got output of the L channel. Remember, we have taken 2 channels. Similarly, we can also have output of the R channel as well. Okay, so the advantage of the basic this complete structure is that the interpolator block, the advantages of the interpolator block is that it's possible to represent the digital audio signals. If you try to upsample, the process of upsampling is nothing but adding probably zeros to each sample. Say one sample is taken from the message signal, and rest all the all the samples are appended by simple zeros. Okay, and hence you just try to uplift the sampling rate by simply padding zeros. If you have only zeros with just one as the actual sample of the message signal, there will be high correlation between 2 successive samples. That high correlation of 2 successive samples will ease the actual the process involved in complete decoding scheme. Okay, usually this U, the value of practical U, since you are talking about the actual values here, so U is usually considered to be around around 256. Okay, is normally chosen in practice. This actually raises the sampling rate. This will not have 44.1 kilohertz that was the actual sampling rate at the transmitter end. With upsampling, the sampling rate rises to around 11 to be very specific, around 2896 megahertz. Okay, so this actually gives several advantages with respect to high rate, and probably high precision is now replaced with simple sigma delta modulator, which demands a low precision D2A converter. Okay, so this 1-bit D2A converter is just enough if you have got sigma delta modulator.